Tips for employer information sessions. In this video, we'll talk about what is an employer information session, why should you attend, how should you prepare, what should you do while you're there, and what should you do afterwards. So what is an employer information session? Many companies hold information sessions in order to promote the company, to share information regarding any current job or internship openings, and to offer more information about the organization's culture. Company information sessions can be in person or virtual. Here is an example of an in-person company information session where there are panelists representing the company. And usually these information sessions range from 1 to 2 hours. And after the company presentation at the beginning, where the employees explain the values and the mission of the company, any recent projects that they've been working on, the company culture and their hiring process, there's always an opportunity for a question and answer portion where students can network also with recruiters or alumni that are there. So a few benefits to attending these information sessions include gaining access to the company and its culture. Culture can mean many things. And so by getting a firsthand look at the people and what's important to them and what they value at the company, you get a real insider insight into the company culture. Second, you really get insight into different career paths. So if you're considering a certain career path, but you've never worked in that career before, this is a great place to learn about it and gain information from people that are in the job that you might want to be doing. Third, you can learn about different positions that they're hiring for, and specifically what qualities do they look for in candidates. Last, it's a great chance to network, to connect with alumni and business professionals that are working at your target company. So how to prepare? So ahead of time, you really want to research the company, look at their website, get an understanding of what their business does. How do they make money? Who are their customers? And what are the jobs that they're hiring for? Although the company reps will describe the business, it's a good idea for you to walk in having some knowledge beforehand. Additionally, you also want to research the roles that are being promoted at the information session. What are those roles, and are you interested in any of them? You can also prepare by researching the people that will attend the event. Most likely after you register, you'll get a list of the company representatives attending. So look them up on LinkedIn and find a bit about their backgrounds. So based on all of this research that you've done, you can now prepare some really great questions about the company, the roles they're hiring for, or the people that are there. If this is an in-person event, you want to be sure to arrive 5 to 10 minutes early. And if representatives are there and they're already set up, you want to take that opportunity to approach them, introduce yourself, first and last name, tell them what you're studying at Baruch, and explain why you're interested in the company. If it's a virtual event, you want to log in about 5 minutes before the start time. Make sure your lighting is good to go and all technology is ready. And you ideally want to have your camera on so that the presenters can see you and you're showing up completely and engaged. If for some reason that you need to get up, make sure to turn your camera off first. Also, while you're there, take notes. Bring a notepad and a pen with you, and you can then use these notes to develop some questions when they ask for questions at the end. During the Q&A and the networking portion of the information session, be respectful of the employer's time. So if you see there's a long line and there's other students that are waiting to talk to that employer, keep your conversation brief. When you do ask a question, it's really important that you first introduce yourself. So you want to let them know your first and last name and your program of study. You can also take this time to show some gratitude by thanking the presenters for coming. And then you want to give context to your question. Share why you're asking the question. Why is the question important to you? Is it something that you picked up on during the information session that you'd like them to elaborate on? So questions you can ask could be about the company, something that you learned there or researched ahead of time. Questions about the recruitment and interview process are also okay. But in general, you want to avoid questions that could be easily answered through research on the website. So here are 3 samples of thoughtful questions that you could ask. Ellen, you talked about how you need to be a good storyteller with data in your work on the analytics team. Could you give a specific example of how you've done that in your work? In class, we're learning how to do this in a number of ways, and it's always helpful to hear how it's been done at companies like yours. So this is a thoughtful question because it's specific to someone on the panel. It's specific to something that they said. So it shows the panelists that you were listening and you picked up on something specific. It's also a good question because it connects to why the student is asking the question. They connect it to how they're learning this in class. And so that's why they're interested in it. Sample number 2. Roger, I'm very interested in the account management role since it aligns with many skills from my background. I'm an international student who will need work visa sponsorship in the future. Am I eligible to apply? So this is a thoughtful question because, again, it's pointing specifically to a panelist and perhaps something that they spoke about. And it shares with the company what specific area that this candidate is interested in. And finally, Sam, you mentioned that you work with financial services clients in a number of ways. Could you share one project you worked on for a client, what it was and what happened in that project? I realize you may not be able to share the name of the client, but I'm very interested about the details since the work sounds interesting. So this is a good question because, again, it picks up on something that was already shared, but that the student wants the presenter to elaborate on. And learning about specific projects can really give you an insight into what you would actually be doing on the job. So now that you've attended, you've asked good questions, you want to look up the names of the company representatives who attended on LinkedIn. And when you reach out to them, you want to thank them for hosting the information session and ask them to connect. If they accepted your connection request on LinkedIn and you'd like to speak with them further, you can request to meet them over coffee at a place that's convenient for them or over Zoom. And you can talk to your career coach about how to make the most of these networking coffee chats. Afterwards, you also want to leverage what you learned at the session to enhance your cover letter. So review your notes, think about what you learned, think about what inspired you to apply to the role based on something that you learned and add that to your cover letter. And lastly, you can review your notes from the information session to hopefully prepare for any upcoming interviews. Hopefully this video was helpful in getting you prepared for employer information sessions. If you have any questions, please book an appointment on Handshake with a career coach or send us an email. Thank you.